What's cracking, guys? Omar Isaf here, back with another video talking about what's really useful when it comes to our training and what's complete bullshit. What are things that we can avoid? You know, we now have more information readily available to all of us than ever before. There's probably over 1 million fitness videos out there. The problem is that bad information, or let's call it the dead zone, the neutral information that's, kind of not that beneficial, not really negative, there's so much of it that it dilutes the useful information, and most of the internet, most of the videos deal with this small area going on right here. Potentially useful information that's kind of esoteric, random, it applies specifically to a few individuals, and we miss the big pie right here. In this video, I'm going to break down what's really useful, what's completely harmful, and then the things that don't really matter, and that's what we call the dead zone. So we have this fancy little graph going on right here. Useful, not either useful or useless, it's just meh information. We could call this kind of bro science, or most of the advice you'll see in a lot of videos. And then just downright bad information you should not follow, or things you want to avoid. So let's start off with it. We know for all of us, a couple things are very important. If our goal is to become stronger, leaner, and build more muscle, we want to do a couple things. And this is just a partial list, right? But progressive overload is certainly at the top. Trying to get better, lift more weight over time. No shit, whether it's strength or building muscle, it's the cornerstone. BSD stands for bench, squat, deadlift. If our goal is strength, right, in the fundamental movements, we need to practice them. If we want to build size, right, in our upper body and the lower body, they are crucial movements. We also know that volume is a key driver for hypertrophy. If our body can handle more volume, we'll be able to build more muscle. All these are very intuitive and we know them, but we kind of forget them in the dead zone. I'll get into that in a second. Recovery, right? It's not, necessarily that your body, you're handling too much volume sometimes. You're just not recovering. You're stressed out. You're not getting enough sleep. Recovery is very important to handle that extra volume. It's very useful. And finally, individuality, right? The person that's actually doing the training program is just as relevant as the training program itself. If your, limb length, if your experience is different than what's being suggested, in terms of how you should squat, how much repetitions you should do, the program you're on, you're not going to optimize your results because it's not a right fit for your body where you are at that time. So the individual is very important. These are all crucial pieces of information, and to be perfectly honest, guys, even though we put out a lot of different videos, if you focus on this top tier of information, like the gold stuff right here, platinum, you'll get over 90% of all your progress. Every other piece of information, gradually, it's the law of diminishing returns, where it slowly becomes less and less useful until we reach this black line, which is just neutral. It's the neutral zone where it doesn't really matter. I mean, we could debate about the foot position when it comes to the squat. It is useful. Once again, it comes here, but it's not as useful as progressive overload, right? It's not as useful as being in a caloric surplus. Most of the internet debates that occur are in this small zone right here. It's useful information. It's not that useful. It's a small benefit. Maybe it might be an extra 0.2, 0.3, 0.4% benefit to not doing it, but it's right here. It's this small zone. It's a small benefit, and we get too caught up and then we ignore this. It's like, man, if we're not recovering from our workouts, if we're not de-stressing our life, if we're not customizing our program, we're not going to make gains. It doesn't really matter, if you're 5 or 6 degree pointed out when it comes to a certain position on one specific movement. Lastly, we talk about the dead zone and then useless information. This information right here is kind of like, it's neutral, it doesn't really matter. It's most of the other advice you'll see when it comes to clean eating, or maybe anecdotal evidence. One person feels a certain way, therefore you should do this. At the end, it doesn't matter, right? It's not relevant to you. So a lot of other information, we call that bro information, it's kind of this dead zone. It's useless. Fuck it. Lastly, we got to talk about useless or harmful information. This is information or things you should avoid. Bad technique. We know this, right? If you're constantly wiring bad technique into your body, you're going to ingrain improper motor patterns. You're going to have an inefficient lift, right? The squat, the deadlift, if you're doing that scared cat movement, the bench, if your elbows are constantly way too flared, the bar is too high, you don't go all the way down. That's just bad technique, and you ingrain that over time. It's going to take you even longer to unwind that from your body. And that's where potentially, as I go over the harmful things, injuries can occur. And we all want to avoid injuries, because think about it. If you get injured, it takes time away from your gains, right? From the period they would have spent getting stronger and building more muscle. Lastly, as I said before, we want to de-stress. Having stress limits the total amount of volume that we can handle in our workouts. So it makes our gains suboptimal, right? What we can handle. Finally, restricted calories. Yes, being in a caloric deficit to lose weight is important, but being in it too long, right? We can lose our muscle mass, we can lose our strength. So we have to focus on what's important. We know that restricting calories for a specific purpose to look better is good, but needlessly restricting it and not eating enough to allow our body to grow, that's bad too. And this is right here, stuff that we want to avoid at all costs. So just think of all the bad information out there that might be harmful towards your goals, right? If your goal is maybe to get stronger, becoming an extreme marathon runner is not a good idea. Context is very important when it comes to kind of what's useful and what's useless for the individual. And I can't stress enough that we need to customize it. Ultimately, focus on right here, because this is the most important information. Most of the internet debates occur kind of right here. Most of the bros are here, and some expert talking about six-packs kind of residing right here. Guys, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, knowledge is indeed power. If you like it, make sure to show your support and like the damn video, and I'll be showing all you guys, cameraman, you just hit the camera. In that next video, peace!